Hi everyone, it is Romy here, running a little bit late for our Anzac video this year because Anzac Day was yesterday, and unfortunately we had a little incident with our cat and ended up at the emergency vet, which is not where you want to be on a public holiday, at an emergency vet, because you're there for hours and it costs you an absolute fortune. Anyway, she will be okay, so that's a good thing, but it's made me a little bit late. For those of you that haven't followed me for very long, or you haven't seen my Anzac videos in past, most years I put out an Anzac video because 3 weeks leading up to Anzac Day, this build-up of energy is just huge, of anyone really, but Anzacs that are in spirit, that have anyone that is open for them to come in and have a chat with you. And I'm always open to the Anzacs and I have great conversations with them. And yesterday was no different. I've written this down because I knew that I wasn't going to get to it yesterday, and so I'm going to read a lot of it to you today. But I will start with what felt like a timeline jump. My husband and I were grabbing a coffee to go and drink on the beach, and we were walking down the path, shorts, t-shirts, runners, and we were walking down the path. What am I talking about? Running. Hello, that's never going to happen. We were walking down the path, and just like an apparition, I guess, this army of soldiers from the 14th century appeared in front of us. And it sort of made me stop. I sort of felt like I was pulling back because we were walking towards them and they were coming towards us. And I was feeling this energy from them. And they had, the big lances. They were horseback. They were mounted on horseback. So I've got all these feathers here that I want to show you. And they're escaping my clutches. So they were coming towards us and stopped right in front of us, and I felt them, and it was weird because I knew that I was in 2024 and they were 14th century or somewhere like that. And this main person, he said to me, "Get out of here. You don't belong here. You will die." And as quick as I went to ask him a question, they were gone. So that was really interesting. But I really did feel like that was more a timeline jump, as in I was actually there while this fight was about to happen. Because if you're one of those people that believes in time not really being a thing, that past, present, and future are all happening at the same time, it felt like that. It felt like I was in present at the same time. That was pretty cool. It was very interesting. So from there, we've gone and sat on the beach. And as we were walking there, I got very drawn to this white feather. And I was like this woman possessed because I could not stop seeing white feathers. And so I'm scrounging around, picking up all these white feathers. And so here they all are. They're like the feather of peace. I don't know how many I've got here. And I think I've dropped a number of them along the way because they float and they kind of just disappear out of your grip. But so many white feathers, and I could have picked up more. I should have been sitting down and drinking my coffee, but I could not stop picking up these white feathers. I was very drawn to do that. So from there, we sat down and had our coffee, and then we jumped back on the path and we were just walking, and I'm sort of reciting. I'm sure this is exactly what Jason wanted to hear yesterday, but I'm reciting this conversation that I've had with this young man, because this is when the Anzac energy really started to come in. And this young fellow made his presence very known to me. Now, he was a Lance Corporal, is what I could determine from him. Just get my feathers out of the way. Now we've done show and tell. Let's just put them over there because I want to read you some of my excerpts from my diary. He was 21 when he died, and he had the wisdom of an 80-plus-year-old. Like, he just oozed this old school wisdom. What he was saying, that when they were coming into Gallipoli, because this soldier was going to Gallipoli, when they were coming in, just a few days beforehand, before they landed, that it was all laughter and camaraderie and having a good time. And it was like, here's a black wall. This side of the wall is laughter and fun. And then we hit the wall and then it's grim and death-like and miserable. And they could feel it, they could see it, they could taste it, they could smell it. that behind that wall, which was where they came into land, that this was not a great place to be. So it was kind of interesting also that he said with that was their intuition, or certainly his intuition became very heightened at that point because he was able to see what was happening or what was going to happen when they landed. Quite scary, I imagine, actually, having that, that television screen-like information showing you what you're about to jump into. He was very pensive as he was talking about the juxtaposition between war and peace and inquiring whether you could have war and peace happening at the same time. And what he said about that, I'm just going to read this to you, is, for us it was not possible. There was forced laughter, but it was a laughter of sickness, not physical sickness, but mental sickness. That is not peace. No, we were mentally at war and physically at war. He was killed by a bayonet when he died. He showed me how he passed. He said, I died a laborious death as I bled out on the battlefield. The peace that came as I drifted to death was worth the wait. He laughs, but not with happiness. It's more a gallows kind of laugh. I asked him if he felt sad or angry being a part of the war, and he responded with this: I will return to a time of peace, so it is of no matter. This is the way of life. The peace of death was worthy of the wait. He smiles in a reflective kind of way. He shares with me the smell of the trenches, and I have to say, some smells just don't need to be smelt, even if they're intuitive, because fortunately they disappear as soon as you've got a hold of them. But it was a disgustingly choking smell of death, of rotting body parts and probably food, of vomit, of feces. It had a real sulfur, but worse than a sulfur kind of smell. I don't even know how to articulate that, but we all know that sulfur doesn't smell too good, but it was that plus a lot. So it wasn't very pleasant at all. And that is what the smell of their living area was. He laughs as he says, if you don't die by weaponry, you'll die from the stinking claustrophobia created by the conglomeration of smells. Your nose never gets used to it. It became a part of the smell of death. We were hungry, tired, and sick. We waited desperately to hear from home and lived vicariously through each other's penmanship. It was those moments where time stood still. Just for the briefest time, we could feel our hearts beat again, and then it would pass, and we would be back in the smell, the weather, and the sounds of war and death. That sound of death haunted us all in our wake and our sleep. And as he finishes off and sort of dissolves back into spirit, he says, find the peace in war. And that was the end of my chat with the Lance Corporal that landed at Gallipoli and died at Gallipoli, but not gone and not forgotten. He is still here. They are all still here.